in the meeting, then 10 minutes later, he says he's not coming home and mentions never legally was? Why bring that up now unless you already planned this?
Tell your son he's not my child. He's not coming home with us. He said it loud enough that the entire hallway went quiet. We were standing outside Eli's classroom, his small hand gripping his backpack, his eyes flicking between us like he didn't understand which version of his life was real anymore. I'm Ava. That's my husband, Daniel. And 10 minutes ago, he was inside that room calling Eli times his son times in front of the teacher. Now he wouldn't even look at him. Eli's voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Mom, did I do something wrong? And Daniel didn't answer him. Instead, he pulled out his phone, calm, almost rehearsed, and said, "You should have told him the truth a long time ago." The teacher stepped closer. Other parents stopped walking. I stared at the screen he was holding out to me, and my stomach dropped when I saw what he'd already done. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I didn't need to scroll. I didn't need to read every word. The header alone told me everything. Termination of adoption proceedings. My name was on it, Daniel's too. A date stamped from 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks? My fingers tightened around the phone as my brain tried to catch up. We had started that process months ago. Times had pushed for it. Said he wanted to make things official. Said Eli deserved stability. A real father on paper. I signed everything he put in front of me. Trusted him to handle the rest. And now I was staring at proof that it had been ended without a single word to me. "You canceled it?" I asked, my voice low enough that only he could hear, but it still carried something sharp. Daniel didn't flinch, didn't even try to hide it. "I corrected it," he said. Corrected. Like Eli was a mistake on a form. Behind me, I felt Eli shift closer, his shoulder brushing my arm. He was trying to stay quiet, but I could feel the tension in him, waiting, listening, trying to piece together a conversation he wasn't supposed to understand. The teacher stepped in a little closer now, her voice hesitant. "Is everything okay here?" Daniel didn't answer her either. Instead, he finally looked at Eli, but not the way he used to. Not warm, not patient, detached. "You shouldn't have let him believe something that wasn't real," he said, directing it at me, like Eli wasn't even standing there. Something cold settled in my chest. Because this wasn't impulsive. This wasn't anger. This was planned. Every small thing over the past few weeks started lining up in my head: the distance, the way he stopped signing school forms, the way he kept saying he was handling the legal side so I didn't have to worry. He wasn't handling it. He was rewriting it. Eli's voice came again, quieter this time. "Mom, what does that mean?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because I realized something else. Daniel hadn't just ended the adoption. He chose this moment, this place, this audience, and I still didn't know why. I slowly handed his phone back to him, my eyes locked on his. "You really thought I wouldn't find out?" I said. For the first time, something in his expression shifted. Not guilt, not regret, calculation. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough. "No," he said. "I knew this was the only way you'd finally deal with it." Deal with what? The question hit me hard, and before I could stop it, I asked, "What exactly do you think I've been hiding?" Daniel's jaw tightened, and for a second, I thought he might actually say it right there. Instead, he straightened, glanced at the people watching, and said something that made the entire situation worse than it already was. "Stop pretending this is my responsibility." The word times responsibility times hung there longer than it should have. Like Eli was something to be handed off, like he was a problem to solve. I felt his fingers tighten around my sleeve. We were still standing in the hallway, his classroom door just a few steps away, his teacher frozen nearby, two parents whispering, not even quietly anymore. This wasn't private. Daniel knew that. That's what made it worse. 10 minutes ago, I said, keeping my voice steady, you were inside that room calling him your son. Daniel exhaled like I was the one being unreasonable. And that's exactly the issue. The issue, I stared at him, trying to understand how someone could switch like this so cleanly. No hesitation, no crack in his voice. Eli looked up at him again, searching, waiting. Daniel didn't meet his eyes. That was new. Because Daniel used to always meet his eyes when helping with homework, when saying goodnight, when promising things he clearly never meant. And suddenly, every small moment over the past few months,
I'm done being responsible for a kid that isn't mine and never legally was.
started replaying differently. The missed school form he said he'd get to later. The argument about boundaries that didn't make sense at the time. The way he once said, "You should be grateful I stepped in." This wasn't a sudden decision. This had been building. "Daniel," I said, quieter now. "What exactly are you trying to do right now?" He didn't hesitate. "I'm saying you need to stop pretending this is my problem." And this time, he didn't just say it to me. He said it loud enough for Eli to hear every word. Pretending. That word didn't just land, it shifted everything. Because Daniel wasn't arguing anymore, he was exposing something. Or at least, trying to. A couple walking past slowed down. Eli's teacher took another step closer, her expression tightening. No one was pretending not to hear now. "Pretending what?" I asked, keeping my voice level, even though my chest felt tight. Daniel gave a short, almost relieved exhale, like we'd finally reached the part he'd been waiting for. "That he's mine," he said. "That this is my responsibility." Eli flinched. It was small, but I felt it. "You don't get to rewrite this," I said. "You knew exactly what you were stepping into." "I stepped in," Daniel snapped, his voice sharper now. "I didn't sign up for this permanently." That word again? Permanent. My mind flashed back papers, signatures, the adoption process he insisted on handling. "You did sign up for it," I said. "You started the adoption." Daniel shook his head immediately. "No." I stopped it. Everything in me went still. "What?" "I'm done being responsible for a kid that isn't mine," he said flatly. "And never legally was." Legally? That word hit differently. Before I could respond, he unlocked his phone again and shoved it toward me. "Read it." My eyes dropped to the screen. And this time, I saw more than just the title. The document wasn't a draft. It was finalized. Official formatting. Digital signatures. A date stamped 3 weeks ago. Termination of adoption proceedings. My name was there, typed, clean, deliberate. But I had never seen this version. "You filed this?" I asked, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. Daniel slipped his phone back into his pocket. "I finished it." Finished it? Like this had always been his to decide. Every piece started snapping into place. The rushed papers he brought home, the way he told me not to worry about updates, how he said, "I'll handle the legal side." He hadn't been handling it. He'd been controlling it. "You had no right," I said. "I had every right," he shot back. "I'm not tying myself to a situation that isn't mine." Behind us, the teacher finally stepped in closer. "I think this conversation should..." Daniel cut her off without even looking at her. "This doesn't involve you." It involved everyone now. Eli tugged at my hand again, harder this time. "Mom, what does that mean?" His voice wasn't confused anymore. It was scared. I crouched slightly, but my eyes stayed locked on Daniel. Because there was something else, something that didn't fit. He didn't just cancel the adoption. He waited for this exact moment to say it out loud, and suddenly I understood why. I stood up slowly. "You didn't do this because of him," I said. Daniel's expression tightened. I took a step closer. "You did this because of what you found out about me." Daniel didn't respond right away, but he didn't look confused either. That was all I needed. You found out about the inheritance, I said, loud enough now that there was no pretending this was private anymore, and suddenly the adoption didn't make sense to you anymore. A couple of people exchanged looks. The teacher stayed where she was, watching closely. Daniel let out a quiet breath, like I'd finally caught up. You're twisting it, he said. No, I replied, I'm finishing it. Because once I said it out loud, everything clicked into place. My grandmother's estate, I continued. The one you suddenly got very interested in. The one you kept asking about how it's structured, who it goes to, what happens times if something happens to me. His jaw tightened. That was answer enough. If you adopted Eli, I said, that money would be protected for him too, locked in ways you couldn't touch. Silence. But if he's not legally yours, I went on, holding his gaze, then everything runs through you as my husband first. That was the plan. Not anger, not frustration. Control. Eli didn't understand every word, but he understood the shift. The way Daniel had been looking at him like something to remove, not protect. I turned to him, kneeling fully this time. Hey, I said softly, placing my hands on his shoulders. Look at me. He did. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is because of you, okay? He nodded slowly, but his grip on my sleeve didn't loosen. I stood up again, and he doesn't get to decide where you belong. Daniel ran a hand over his face, glancing at the people around us, now openly watching. Ava, don't do this here, he muttered. But there wasn't a times here, times anymore. He made sure of that. Within days, everything moved fast. I filed for separation. My lawyer reviewed every document Daniel had touched. What he did cutting me out of finalized legal decisions, misrepresenting paperwork, didn't stay quiet for long. An inquiry was opened. His workplace heard about it. People who once knew us as a family started asking questions he couldn't answer cleanly. And most importantly, he lost access to us. A month later, I sat in a different office. Quiet, controlled, no surprises. Eli sat beside me, swinging his legs slightly, his backpack resting against the chair. This time, every paper was explained. Every signature was mine. Done right. As we walked out, he looked up at me, his voice small but steady. Are we going home now? I squeezed his hand. No hesitation this time. Yes, I said. We are.
If someone can quietly undo something that big and wait to reveal it in public, how many people are making decisions like that around you without you even realizing?